All right, I guess I'm live now. Looks to be. I haven't done this before. This is not a curmudgeon in the cellar. This is me, Cascoid, Tim Kask. I have some questions I'd like to ask the public. And I'm doing it in this format because anybody that wants to argue and I can stop them from doing that, and they can just go pack sand. Because I have some questions to ask, and I have some opinions to share. And I'm wearing this hat tonight to remind people that are listening or watching. And if you're listening, I'll describe the hat. It says Vietnam veteran, and I was. So I have a firsthand experience of being on both ends of firearms. I avidly participated in the war at the time. I was very avid for it. So I don't want to hear about any dove or pacifist or any of this kind of crap, because it isn't so. I'm proficient with firearms. I qualified informally on a number of firearms, both long arms and handguns, and I have fired many, and I have done it for sport. So I don't have any animus about guns. Just one type of gun, and that's a semi-automatic long weapon, a rifle, a long arm. How many shots does it take to kill a deer? Come on, hunters out there, how many? Do you sit there and bang, 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 bang until you get it? Do you hit it 2-3 times and mess up the meat altogether and waste it in your zeal to shoot it? Do you have to be able to have that semi-automatic capability to go out to the target range and obliterate your plastic turkey that you're shooting at? What prompted me to finally take a stand publicly for whatever a little or not effect it has 2-3 shootings in the last 2 days. One of them 45 minutes up the road from me in a mall I've been to that I recognized when they showed the films, the camera films out of people's phones. This is crazy. 31 rounds in 30 seconds. Think about that. 31 rounds in 30 seconds. Look at your watch and watch that thing and go pow, 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 and count that out. And when you get to 30, go pow one extra time for that extra round. In a crowded mall where you're virtually spraying bullets. Why do these guns have to be available to the general public? I'll address in a minute some of the arguments that I know some people like to make. But the shooting in El Paso, the shooting in Dayton, there was just a third one, and I'm sorry, I do not mean to slight the victims there either. We have had more mass shootings defined as 4 or more victims, not counting the shooter. We've had 251 now in 215 days. Jesus criminy, where is this going to end? Why do we need these guns in the public's hands? Who needs a semi-automatic weapon? You don't hunt with them. Why do you need them? If you're out hunting bear with a 223, you're an idiot and deserve to be eaten and let the Darwinian principle take over. If you're out hunting deer and you have to hit it 2 or 3 times, you're ruining the meat and wasting it, and not worthy of being a hunter. Now, the big argument about the Second Amendment is the word militia. Now, as I see it, there are a number of justices who do still believe, and have in the past given arguments about they want to be true to what they feel the Constitution's writers meant, and the wording. And I respect that principle, and I think I understand it to a fact. But what I don't think people are seeing is that while wording meant something there, that is what it meant, and that's what it always meant. You can't, the word militia, the entire wording of the Second Amendment is as follows. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, and the state is capitalized. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, and the A in arms is capitalized, comma, shall not be infringed. Now, if you're going to be a strict interpreter, and it's a badly put together sentence, and I'll take the hit for criticizing the writers of the Constitution, because what the hell, I called up Gary Gygax and told him his rules were poorly written and that I'd do a better job. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to rewrite this, but I wish some of the people on the courts would try to understand that what they were needed then is actually what we have now. I went through virtually every published dictionary of any known repute, every online dictionary I could find, and I looked up the word militia. And they all shared several different lines of definition. A body of citizens enrolled for military service. Okay. Now, citizens, not mercenaries. Called out periodical for drill. Serving time only in emergencies. A body of, okay, that's one principle. It's a common understanding of the word what a militia is. A body of citizen soldiers as distinguished from professional soldiers. All right, don't sleep in the barracks or on board the ship. And all able-bodied males considered to be eligible for militia for military service. Now you're getting into a slightly more esoteric thing. A body of citizens organized in paramilitary group and typically regarding themselves as defenders of individual rights against the presumed interference of the federal government. Now, see, it's that last one that I found in several places that's a real problem. Because in all the others definitions there, everything I can read into there, the National Guard is a militia. Each guard is controlled by its state's governor. It functions within its own state. It is, by all definitions, a militia, not this most recent paramilitary stuff that has only popped up since the Second World War. So, all the gun defenders, the pry my gun from my cold dead hands, that want to use the militia argument, I say, okay, watch the movie Red Dawn. And then tell me how many of you would be out there. Now, it's a movie, and I know it's a fantasy and all that. but it's a fantasy in the movie, and it's what you really have to do. I have a feeling an awful lot of you would be under the bed and behind the door, or you'd be the dead ones because you'd be out, the first dead ones because you'd be out doing something stupid. Um, a citizen's militia just doesn't work unless, again, maybe you're considering that we're going to be invaded from Mars or some other planet, and we're all going to go out there with our shotguns. And speaking of shotguns, they've made shotguns into weapons now that have no purpose whatsoever except blowing up people, not hunting. I'm vaguely related to, it's an in-law of an in-law of married to. So a person who has a shotgun that's about, I'll back up, about this long, 2 handles, pistol grips like, and holds 7 rounds, and it fires them as fast as you can pump it. Now you can't hunt anything with this because it's got no barrel, so it sprays, the pattern goes. And it's supposedly a home defense weapon. Well, imagine somebody getting one of those into the mall, because actually it's much smaller than the semi-automatic rifle type. I like this new terminology, the AR-15 type, they call it now, AR-15 like. Everybody's used this bugaboo of the AR-15. So why do we need these things? It's time to let's have some common sense here. Why do we need these things? Don't sell them. Don't sell them to anybody. Let's collect them. Let's get rid of them. We don't need weapons of this type that fire semi-automatic. 31 rounds in 30 seconds without a bump stock. So far as we know, we've not heard no bump stock, nothing that beefed up any parts of this weapon that made it faster than what it was sold. Perhaps just somebody that was really good on that trigger. What is going on? Do we need this? Do we really need this? Dayton, El Paso, everybody that's gone through this is suffering. This is crazy. How many does it take? I had some notes here because I did want to get crazy. Why is it that in the last 2 years, a lot of regulations and rules about background checks have been discarded? Now, no, this last one wasn't a Looney Tune, but God knows how many more Looney Tunes are out there with those weapons. How'd they get them? Why'd they get them? We had better screening in process. What really tipped me off today, besides seeing in mall that I saw both on my TV and in my mind's eye, was the article about ballistic back-to-school backpacks for your kid. This is the world we've come to. People are actually buying ballistic backpacks for their children. You carry their books in. Think about that. Do we have to give them a drill to show them how to lie down behind it in a shooting situation, such as Army recruits are trained how to lie behind the claymore when they set it off? Same principle, be on the right side of the equipment. When it comes time that we have to sell backpacks for our children to go back to school that are bulletproof, it's time for common sense to take over. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. It's time to meet back here in the middle and say, what are we doing for our children? Why are we blocking all these rules and using some common sense? I'm not saying taking away handguns. I'm not saying take away rifles. I'm not saying take away this style of rifle. I'm saying take away any capability, make them incapable of being semi-automatic, make them single shot only. You can do that. They do it now when they take away the full automatic capability, when they refit certain military grade rifles to be civilian rifles. It can be done. The people that think that somehow the government's gonna come get them, and they're out in their compounds worried about this kind of stuff. Well, we're not going to get theirs away. But by and large, they're going to sit out there in their compounds, and they're not going to go out and they're not going to shoot people randomly. But let's quit selling them to quit selling them to anybody, because what are we looking for a setting for mass shooting record? Setting a record? 251 shootings in 215 days. When is it enough? Common sense is needed. Yeah, well, that's my rant.